Namaskar and a very warm welcome to this edition of the Phone In program. I'm Nidhi Kumar and you're watching India Science. Let me begin this phone in by updating you first about the COVID pandemic, which is still on, and most importantly, what is the status? Over 44,658 cases have been reported in just the last 24 hours. Remember, the COVID pandemic is raging and is still on. India may be witnessing a new phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the country may have entered a stage of endemic according to WHO. India has vaccinated 61 crore people till today. In this program, we take your queries live, and today we're joined by the very eminent Dr. Ajay Agarwal, Director and Head of Department Internal Medicine, Fortis Hospital, Noida. Many thanks for joining us today. Namaste and welcome to India Science. So, sir, my first question to you is that can you please tell us what is different between Delta variant and Delta plus variant, which is B1.617.1, and what are its symptoms?
You know, the difference as far as structure is concerned is more academic, that they have got it has got mutation on two points in between the R gene and another amino acid, and that helps it in cleaving it faster and getting it easy to infect the cell. But the most importantly, the infectivity rate of the Delta plus is much, much higher. And it has been seen that it has got more immune escape. That means even amongst the people who had been infected in the past or have been vaccinated with the COVID vaccine are being reinfected. So this is the main difference. And as far as the symptoms are concerned, the difference is that now the Delta plus variant has got the symptoms like more rhinorrhea, that is running of nose, throat pain, cough, and upper respiratory tract infections and GI symptoms like loose motions, much more. So that makes you more confusing with a common cold virus. Like if you remember, during the first wave, that was the time then we doctors used to say, well, he has got rhinorrhea, he's got running of nose, less chances that he has got the COVID. But now it's going to get more confusing.
Absolutely, and it makes it more and more transmissible according to what you're saying. Yeah. We're now getting our first caller. Shashi Kumar from Kolkata is joining us. Namaste Shashi ji, please ask your question to the doctor.
Hello ma'am, hello sir.
Hello.
Sir, my question is how long does a COVID vaccine remains effective?
Well, it's too short a period for us to tell you a very reliable answer that how long. But yes, all the studies have said that once a COVID vaccine has been given, it remains effective for as long as 6 months at least. And may remain effective for lifelong. You know, the immune system of the body is totally different. It is very robust and it does not depend on your titers that what you are getting. When you get the reinfection, we have got the memory cells, we have got the T cells, that is different cellular immunity that binds, bounces back, that gives your immune response and fights back. So this vaccine may give you a lifelong immunity as well, but the studies are there that have shown that the efficacy of the vaccine starts waning slowly and slowly. One study has shown that the people who got vaccinated in January got the vaccine protection by 69%, and now that has waned up to 61% amongst the group who were vaccinated in April. So might be there is a winning effect of the vaccine. Time will tell us. We are getting the people who are getting reinfected after being given the vaccine. So right now it's too premature for us to say which vaccine will last for how long. When is the time for the booster dose? Whether there is a requirement of the booster dose? These questions have not been answered even by the highest authorities all over the world.
And we're still struggling to answer them. And as you just said, that frontline workers have got this vaccine 6 months back. So it's time for their booster dose by the same standards, but we still have to wait and watch. We're getting our second caller, sir, Shivani Shukla from Delhi. Namaste, Shivani. Please ask your question.
Namaste, ma'am. Hello, sir.
Namaskar.
Sir, my question is, after if we have taken vaccine and we want to know, how to detect the antibodies, what is the procedure for that, and how is it analyzed?
Well, one thing is for sure, no doctor is asking you to get the titer done after taking the COVID vaccine. This has not been validated. Whether quantitative, semi-quantitative or qualitative test for the COVID antibody test. Immune response of individual differs.
All right.
So you may have a very low titer, but once you get the infection, your immune response will be much higher. You may be having very high titer, but your immune system is not that strong to bounce back to give you that much
But
immunity.
a lot of people are
Yes.
still going in for these tests
Yes,
just
that's not
to
required.
find out whether
That
or
is
not,
required.
antibodies have
Yes,
developed or not.
That is not required.
All right. But if they feel so, like she's asking this question, would you please quantify and tell her what is the best way of validating whether you have antibodies or not, serology or what according to
You see, because that's what FDA has clearly said. Because different vaccines have got different mechanism of action. Some acts on the spike protein. You got anti-spike antibody. Natural infection gives you total. Some acts through the plasmid. So you have got different vaccines, and the titers differ in different individuals also. So this has got nothing to do. There is no test as far as now validated to tell you safely that how much titer you require, whether these titers are good enough, bad enough, or not required.
All right. I hope this answers your question, Shivani. And now we have with us Diksha joining us from Lucknow. Namaste, Diksha. Please ask your question.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. This is Deeksha from Lucknow. Ma'am, my question is that when is the vaccine expected for children? And Sputnik and other vaccines are in the pipeline. So please give a brief about the efficacy as well.
Well, the government has said that Zydus vaccine can be given from 12 years onwards. Same are few vaccines all over the world, like mRNA vaccines. Pfizer is being approved in USA to be given to the children. Covishield has not been approved so far for being given to the children, and same is with the Sputnik. So in India, the government has said that by October we are expecting that children will be given the vaccine from the 12 to 18 years of the age group.
Absolutely. So another question that I want to ask you now is it's flashing on YouTube, is that tell us about the Zydus Cadilla's plasmid DNA COVID vaccine. What is the method and how does it prevent against the virus? What does it act on?
It is again a plasmid carrier vector vaccine that acts on the spike proteins, produces the antibodies, and this is highly efficacious. The only difference is it is the mode of administration. This is intradermal. This is given 28 days apart. The 3 doses are being
And needle free.
Needle free. This is through an applicator. So that is the difference. Efficacy, as far as the paper publications are concerned, is good. It is almost,
On the trials?
On the trials, it is good. It is almost more than 65 to 70%.
Yeah.
So we are very hopeful that the children will soon get the vaccine by October, once it starts rolling in.
Absolutely. With that, we have another caller joining us, Atharv joining us from, Prakhar from Nagpur. Namaste, Prakharji, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. I'm going to ask a question. Who are likely to have post-COVID complications?
I couldn't get you.
Please repeat.
Who are likely to have post-complications of COVID?
Who are the patients,
Patients
probably
group.
with morbidities or comorbidities?
You see, we can divide the complication of COVID amongst the population group. One, acute complications. The older age group, diabetic, cardiac patient, as we all know, asthmatics with lower immunity, post-transplant patients. These are patients who got acute complication in the form of increased morbidity, requirement of the hospitalization, and increased mortality death rates.
Right.
The long-term complications are seen more in young females.
Right.
That is, we call it long COVID. That perhaps you are interested in that long COVID, that fatigue, tiredness, fibromyalgia, that is generalized muscle pains all over the body, hair loss, recurrent loose motions, loss of taste, parosmia, alteration of taste later on in 3 months, 4
Could you
months.
please explain parosmia?
The alteration of the smell after 3 to 4 months of
This is
COVID.
a very general thing that we are
Very
seeing
general,
these
we are
days.
seeing you smell of kerosene, you smell of
Yes.
some matchstick, something like burning. So this is these are the complications. But in my practice, what I am seeing, many complications of anxiety neurosis.
Yes, yes.
Lot of myths, and this has been published that limbic system in the brain.
Distress.
Limbic system in the brain is also getting inflamed. That
Right.
holds on your emotions and all. Like your heart is inflamed, your lung is inflamed, other organs are inflamed. So is your limbic system is inflamed. And once the limbic system is inflamed, you get increased pulse rate, anxiety, neurosis, ghabrat, you call it lack of sleep. All these depression. These are almost 25% people are facing. And long COVID in the form of chronic fatigue syndrome. You feel tired, exhausted. So these are many things we are facing in the form of long COVID.
Absolutely. How truly said, and COVID has absolutely destroyed our mental peace, to say the least. We're now joined by Amit from Hyderabad. Yes, Amit, namaste, welcome to India Science. Please ask your question.
Namaste ma'am, namaste sir. So my question is, what are the post-COVID neurophysiatric manifestations?
Neuropsychiatric manifestations.
Neuropsychiatric manifestation.
I think brain fog is what
Yes.
he's trying to ask.
Yes, we can start
If you
with
could explain that.
cognitive function, we call it, that is brain fogging. You get confused, you do not feel as alert in the morning that you used to be, you do not feel that you are your own self, you do not have that much drive, you do not have that much clarity. That is one thing. Another thing that we have seen, we call it the neurological manifestations of COVID, are neuropathy. What we are seeing, we got the patients with Guillain-Barré syndrome-like symptom where the patient get paralyzed. You are
Right.
not able to lift hand, lift legs, total paralysis. You get neuropathies, tingling, numbness all over. We have got cerebritis in the form like patient is unable to recognize the people, becomes cognitive total dysfunction. So these are many neurological manifestations that we have seen post-COVID.
But on a lighter note, sir, I don't think COVID patients are allowed to interact with their relatives. So how do they recognize doctors or nurses is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So, but one thing for sure, this has affected almost all organs of
Correct.
our body.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Anjali joins us now from Delhi. Yes, Anjali, please ask your question.
Yes. So my question is, we are hearing a lot about post-COVID complications. So what measures can we take to minimize those?
This is very interesting question. What we can do to minimize post-COVID complications. One that comes to my mind is to keep doing stretching exercises. Yoga, to prevent your fibromyalgias to set in, to have large number of your muscle aches, you should do stretching exercise. Go back to deep breathing exercises, pranayams and all for your deep lung exercises. Then to keep your mental balance intact at the time of pandemic when you are indoor, cut off from the social world, listen to music, go back to your hobbies, read your books, interact more with your family. This is what you should be doing.
Absolutely, to keep that complicated thing at bay.
At bay.
Somehow or the other by focusing your energies elsewhere perhaps and focusing it in the right way.
Re-energizing your inner self.
Realizing, which is I think the purpose of Indian heritage. I mean,
Indian heritage.
it is India's calling to be able to go back to yoga and to be able to do pranayama.
That's why perhaps you will find that
Yeah.
we have been able to fight much better way.
Much better, much better. Yes, sir. We're hoping that the third wave does not come and doesn't hit us as badly. I want to ask you one more question about the Lambda and Kappa variants and their emergence in India very recently. How would you specify these from, the Delta Plus variant, which is a variant of concern?
Well, you see, so far the Delta variant is deadliest of all, most infective of all. Lambda variant is also there, that is also infective. Kappa variant is also infective.
What is so different between Kappa and Delta Plus?
There is only, I will say, the anatomical difference on the spike, the mutation difference. But if there is a race between the delta and lambda, delta will definitely win. And that's what the mutation is all about. The more aggressive virus is going to survive. So the delta virus is going to take over the other virus like lambda and kappa, and they will be there, the major in the endemicity. So as far as symptoms are concerned, they are not much different. But infectivity of delta is much higher than that of the lambda
More
and kappa.
transmissible, yes. Absolutely. Suraj now joining us. Namaste, Suraj. Please ask your question.
Hello, sir. I want to ask a question that what is the term long COVID?
Well, long COVID, I perhaps just said that it is a term that we use for the long-term symptoms after the patient has been infected with COVID. Long COVID means the person keeps on having feeling of low-grade fever, low temperature, body aches, joint pain, fatigue, muscle aches, lack of energy, recurrent loose motion, abdominal distension, even mental fogging off and on. These are the symptoms of long COVID.
Absolutely. I hope that answers your question. So, doctor, I want to ask you about mixing of vaccines because a lot of people have been talking about that. Is that advisable? A. And secondly, when do you think we could go in for the booster dose for maybe for people with comorbidities? It may come soon, as we are hearing from ICMR.
I will take your question one by one. One about the mixing of the vaccine. There has not been a single trial in the world that has advocated the mixing of vaccines so far. Whatever the data that we have got about the accidental doses of vaccines that were given, especially, for example, if you know about 14 to 18 patients that got vaccinated first with Covishield, then Covaxin. And then we got the data amongst them that they had a higher titer. So that gives us a feeling that if we mix the vaccine, then we may get a higher data. Similarly, there were talk abroad in the UK and all when there were limitations of the vaccines.
Correct.
That we can mix and match.
Very
and
clever,
however,
yes.
if you see the Oxford, once clearly said, the study group said, well, we do not have any data and we do not advocate. So we do not have these two different vaccines behave differently, have got different mechanism of action, and we just do not know what is going to be the adverse or side effect profile after mixing of the vaccine in the long term. This is the reason why perhaps no group in the world so far has advocated
the
about the mixing of the vaccine. This is your first question. Second was about booster dose. Again, in India, you see, we have to be responsible, I call. For unless you have vaccinated whole population, we should not be talking about the booster dose.
But doctor, what about the people who are still down with the deadly comorbidities like
Yes.
diabetes and all?
Yes, so that is the call that will be taken by the government at particular
Right.
time. Right now in different countries, healthcare workers are being given the booster dose. There has been trial and they have started. I know in the UK they are giving Pfizer's third dose to the healthcare workers. Similarly in the US with the high comorbidities they have started giving the booster dose. But in India right now, because we still have got 60 crore people vaccinated and we have got a large number of the population who has been left unvaccinated, and we do not know whether we really require the booster dose right now for anyone, whether it's healthcare professional, any with a comorbid condition. So right now, first I think it's right that we are focusing on each and everyone to get us to get vaccinated. Let us first get all of us safe, and then we can of course think of in the terms of healthcare workers or the people with the high comorbid conditions, and that is the call that can be taken during the course of time.
Absolutely. Joining us now is Chandana from Bangalore. Yes, Chandana, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. My question is, can COVID occur against vaccinated individuals?
Reinfection, basically.
Well, there is not a single doctor, I will say, who has not seen a case of reinfection.
Yes.
We all have seen amongst our colleagues who got vaccinated, who got COVID and another COVID, right? So we have seen that. So reinfections can occur, of course. Reinfection once occurs after being vaccination are usually mild you tend to get lighter symptoms like throat pain, cough, body aches, may not require hospitalization, and it definitely has got lesser mortality or death rate. But it again comes with a caveat that it does not totally makes you free even from the serious disease and mortality. So vaccine is one thing, but the major thing of keeping your mask, sanitization, social distancing, keeping yourself safe even after getting vaccinated will remain, should remain.
And why do you think Kerala is seeing such a large influx? Because maybe somewhere they have let their guard down. And even Maharashtra, and this has been the pattern even in the first wave and the second wave. We saw Kerala going up, then we saw Maharashtra going up, and then it percolated down to Delhi NCR. What do you feel is the landscape of the COVID-19 third wave?
Well, it is very hard to say, but how does the virus behave differently, and how it is behaving in Kerala, and time will come to say. As we know that AY12 variant of the Delta variant again has come, and another thing is that vaccination profile that were given. They were in the Kerala perhaps more. For one doses were given than the two complete doses that were given, and so there are so many things that comes into interplay, and that are the epidemiologists later on that will keep on judging how and where went wrong. But right now it is unfortunate that so many people are having in the Kerala there is so much surge of COVID-19.
As we talk today, yes. Joining us now is Akansha from Kerala. Yes, Akansha, please ask your question.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. So my question is that, how do I know if I have the Delta variant? Like, it has any other symptoms from the COVID-19? If there's any difference, and if I'm vaccinated, so why do I need to worry about the Delta variant?
Yes, Akansha, is a very interesting question. One, I will take your question in two bits that you have asked. First, what are the symptoms that are slightly different from the COVID-19? Delta variant, I told you, has got more upper respiratory tract infection, not necessarily. Running of nose, throat pain, cough, breathlessness, and rest all the symptoms are same. It is impossible for anyone to tell you that you have got this variant or you do not have this variant.
Until you go in for a test.
You get the test and the genomic sequencing that you will get later on. So that only will tell you whether you have got the variant or not. Number two, why you should be worried? Because immune escape, that is the chances of getting reinfection even after being totally vaccinated, are always there. Efficacy rate of the vaccine even in their clinical trials are at best 60 to 70% for most of the vaccines, and so there is large number of people who may have immune escape. In Kerala, we are finding 10 to 15% of the patients who have been infected after taking the vaccine. So we have got data to say that vaccine does not totally prevent you from infection. Yes, it decreases your chances from getting serious infection or you from getting from death. So that decreases it. But you should take proper precaution because that does not totally prevent you from getting reinfected or getting infected.
So the basic keyword here is precaution. Joining us now is Akash from Patna. Yes, Akash, please ask your question.
Sir, my question is, sir, which vaccine is more effective, and if one gets severe adverse reaction with one vaccine, can one take another vaccine?
You see, right now, as far as efficacy of different vaccines, we cannot give you the answer because there are no head-to-head trial between two different vaccines. So this scientific answer, which vaccine is better, can be given only after head-to-head trial, while we know that all the vaccines were given emergency approval, and as such we do not have any data to show that this vaccine would be much better than other. All have shown to be highly efficacious against COVID vaccine, whether those are mRNA, Pfizer, Moderna, or Covishield of AstraZeneca, or Covaxin, or Sputnik, other parts of world. So they all have shown that they are highly efficacious and they have proven to be quite effective. As for this question, if I develop a severe adverse reaction with a one vaccine, whether I should be taking another vaccine, the answer will be on the basis of what sort of adverse effect one has got after the first dose of the vaccine. For example, if I got a simple allergic reaction, there are chances that if you consult with your doctor, by giving a smaller desensitization way, you can take the same shot again. If you have got the severe adverse reactions in the form of severe thrombocytopenia, that is low platelet count or clotting disorder, then of course there would be an advice from your own doctor to seek another vaccine.
Absolutely, and I think that answers your question. We have another caller joining us now, Priya from Barabanki. Yes, Priya, please ask your question. Welcome.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir.
Hello.
So my question is, can pregnant and lactating mother take vaccine?
I will take your question on two parts, Priya. One, whether lactating mother can take vaccine. Yes, lactating mother, breastfeeding mother can take vaccine, whether it is Covishield or Covaxin or any other vaccine. It has been approved because it has been seen that there is no side effect once a lactating mother takes the vaccine. Second part of your question, pregnant female. Pregnant female can take vaccine, that is the Covaxin has been approved to be given to the pregnant females. However, they should consult their gynecologist before taking the vaccine.
Absolutely, and more pregnant women are opting for
Yes,
Covaxin
yes,
only.
they should.
What about the rural areas? Any updates from there?
From the rural areas, I think that the people are willing to take more and more vaccines. The vaccine hesitancy that was seen, I will say in January or February, has weaned off. The people are really, but at least in this part I have found, I do not know now any of my patient who has not taken the vaccine. This is very good. We think we should applaud this today for the enormous amount of the work that has been done in India for such a large number of population.
Correct.
With such a vast ethnicity, vast group of the people with their different beliefs, and almost most of them have been vaccinated. So rural people also are coming forward more so to get the vaccinated themselves.
Absolutely.
And it's very good. It's
That's very
nice.
encouraging, very,
Very
promising
encouraging.
indeed.
Yeah.
Joining us now is Rohit from Gorakhpur. Yes, Rohit, please ask your question.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. Sir, my question is, does vitamin supplementation have any role in prevention?
There is absolutely no role of vitamins or any of these medicine in prevention of COVID. Except the vaccine, there is nothing you have got for prevention of the COVID. So this is a myth. There is nothing like that you take this and you won't be getting, you take this, eat this, you won't get COVID. There's nothing like that.
Also, a lot of people in the villages have been saying that the vaccine has a bovine syrup which may, lose you to, which may, help you to, lose your faith and things like that. So I'd like you to bust these myths today.
Yes, we should, because you see, there are always, whenever any vaccine has come all over the world, whether you see there is vaccine anti-vax group all over the world who do not want to take vaccine. The propagandas are always high. It's not only in India, it is very much common in
Across
UK,
the globe, yes.
across the globe. Everywhere they say, do not take vaccine. But it does not cause any side effect. They have been tested. You see, all the doctors are themselves taking. They were the first people who took the vaccine. If there would have been an iota of doubt about having such a side effect, they would not have taken themselves. So, from this platform, I want to tell you very clearly, there is nothing like that. It will cause infertility. It will cause disability. It
Change
will
of
cause
faith.
change of faith. It will cause any problem. No, the vaccine is either inactivated killed vaccine or is a modified protein. It is not a full virus.
Correct,
It
correct.
does not cause any harm whatsoever when the patient takes the vaccine.
Bilkul, bilkul. Joining us now is our last caller, Naveen from Noida. Yes, Naveen, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. I want to ask what is breakthrough infection and how we can serve the breakthrough cases.
Breakthrough infections we call when the persons who have been vaccinated get the COVID reinfections. They get COVID again. So this is known as the breakthrough infection. Perhaps you want to know what is the severity of the disease. Breakthrough infections, once they occur, has shown that they cause very milder form of disease in most of the people. Very few percent of the people, whether they were in that outbreak we see in Kerala or we see in US or UK or Israel, we find that only very minuscule amount of the people who got the breakthrough were hospitalized or went into ventilator or died. So this is of huge importance because this has the vaccine has prevented death.
Absolutely. So, and in the end, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Ajay Agarwal, for joining us today. And with this is a wrap on this edition of the Phone In. There is a third wave that is imminent, and we need to be prepared at the soonest. And I would like to ask all of you to go for the vaccination, take that jab, and mask up India. On that note, namaskar.